every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the COVID. With dealing with everything we have to do with. Look, if we finally beat Medicare.
His big kill on the black people is the millions of people that he's allowed to come in through the border. They're taking black jobs now.
Black job? Is this a black job?
The moderators are two of the best in the business. They both are friends of mine. But how was the first question not who won the 2020 election?
How? I need to know how. If that's not the first question, what are we even doing? Welcome to Street Politics. My name is Reese Waters. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the page. All right, Joe Biden, you had 3 jobs. 3 jobs, just 3 things that you needed to do. You needed to press Donald Trump on January 6th. You needed to point out that all his homies, his whole crew is either in jail or wearing ankle monitors. His VP is not even endorsing him. And oh yeah, he's a convicted felon as well. That hasn't really moved the needle, but the fact that everybody around him is convicted felons, that might. And last but not least, Project 2025. You can't say it enough. If that's how you start every answer, you will do fantastic.
Making sure that we continue to strengthen our healthcare system, making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the COVID. With dealing with everything we have to do with. Look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump.
Well, he's right. He did beat Medicare. He beat it to death.
That was 10 minutes in. That was 10 minutes in. 10 minutes in. And we are already finished. By the way, that was a good ad lib by Trump. I started out doing stand-up. I got to give credit where credit is due. Now, Joe Biden was apparently sick, which accounted for his voice, but that didn't account for everything.
And I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look.
I don't know what he said either, but I know what he didn't say was check Trump for tanking the border bill. How you let him talk freely about the border when he tanked the border bill? Come on.
President Trump, President Biden, you have said, quote, Donald Trump and his MAGA Republicans are determined to destroy American democracy. Do you believe that the tens of millions of Americans who are likely to vote for President Trump will be voting against American democracy?
Oh, here's a perfect entry for Project 2025.
The more they know about what he's done, yes, the more they know about what he's done. And there's a lot more coming. He's got a lot of cases down the road coming around. He's got a whole range of issues he has to face. I don't know what the juries will do, but I do know he has a real problem.
Nope, that wasn't it. That wasn't it.
Former President Trump, I want to ask you about January 6, 2021.
Okay, here we go.
After you rallied your supporters that day, some of them stormed the Capitol to stop the constitutionally mandated counting of electoral votes. As president, you swore an oath to, quote, preserve, protect, and defend, unquote, the Constitution. What do you say to voters who believe that you violated that oath through your actions and inaction on January 6th and worry that you'll do it again?
Well, I don't think too many believe that. And let me tell you about January 6th. On January 6th, we had a great border. Nobody coming through, very few. On January 6th, we were energy independent. On January 6th, we had the lowest taxes ever. We had the lowest regulations ever. On January 6th, we were respected all over the world.
Oh, hell no. Hell no.
And Nancy Pelosi, if you just watched the news from 2 days ago, on tape to her daughter, who's a documentary filmmaker, they say, but she's saying, oh, no, it's my responsibility. I was responsible for this. Because I offered her 10,000 soldiers or National Guard, and she turned them down. And the mayor in writing, by the way, the mayor, in writing, turned it down, the mayor of D.C. They turned it down. I offered 10,000 because I could see, I had virtually nothing to do. They asked me to go make a speech. I could see what was happening. Everybody was saying they're going to be there on January 6th. They're going to be there. And I said, you know what? There's a lot of people coming. You could feel it. You could feel it, too, and you could feel it.
You let him keep talking, he gonna blame the Black Panthers. CNN, what y'all doing? Huh? You hosting a whole debate with no fact-checking whatsoever? Then what purpose are y'all serving? I have no idea what your use is. Clearly, Trump and all of his sycophants talking about Jake Tapper and Dana Bash and what they tweeted and this, that, and the other thing, they worked the refs successfully. I know how that works. I watched Phil Jackson. They have worked the refs, and now they got y'all completely sitting there idly by while he lies massively out of his mouth. What is this, a Trump rally?
Remember, more people died under his administration, even though we had largely fixed it. More people died under his administration than our administration, and we were right in the middle of it.
Hey, Jake Tapper. Yeah, they accidentally cut your mic off. Yeah, Trump out here lying and y'all not saying nothing. So I think the mic cut off. Also, he just claimed they had COVID settled. I think he might be sick.
The problem they have is they're radical because they will take the life of a child in the 8th month, the 9th month, and even after birth. After birth, if you look at the former governor of Virginia, he was willing to do this. He said, we'll put the baby aside and we'll determine what we do with the baby, meaning we'll kill the baby. What happened is we brought it back to the states, and the country is now coming together on this issue. It's been a great thing.
Okay, so we out here trying to fight a cold, old age, stuttering, lying with no refs whatsoever. We just making our own calls. No wonder I spent the whole night out here looking like Apollo's trainer. Now keep in mind, it's not like Trump was good. He was just the least bad, like Vienna sausages. And if you don't believe me, look what he had to say about black people.
As sure as you're sitting there, the fact is that his big kill on the black people is the millions of people that he's allowed to come in through the border. They're taking black jobs now, and it could be 18, it could be 19, and even 20 million people. They're taking black jobs, and they're taking Hispanic jobs.
Now, what the hell is a black job? Man, I can't wait to see Tim Scott answer for this.
The president used a phrase I hadn't heard before. Maybe he's used it. Maybe you've heard this. But he used a phrase saying that immigrants are coming into this country, undocumented immigrants, and they're taking black jobs and Hispanic jobs. What did he mean by that phrase, black jobs and Hispanic? What exactly does he mean? And does he mean low-wage jobs? And why not just say low-wage jobs? Why does he have to insert race and or ethnicity into it?
I got to tell you, the thing I thought was incredibly powerful on the issue of immigration was when President Trump said that we see our veterans homeless on the streets.
Nah, he gotta go. He gotta go. He can't come out in public no more. Nah, he can't come. No, because he been on a trading block for way too long by the black delegation. If he not gonna get moved, he just gotta get waived. Nah, yeah, he gotta get waived. Just go ahead and go home. Now we will pay you to stay home. Just you need to get out of the public eye. Now, meanwhile, now I understand what Joe Biden is after, because instead of directly confronting Trump, he's off in the weeds somewhere. He imitating Tim Scott. Joe, I just need you to hit them 3 moves. January 6th, jail, in 2026. That's all you need to know. Like playing Mortal Kombat. All you need is the leg sweep and the uppercut. All this other nonsense is just wasted energy.
My son was not a loser, was not a sucker. You're the sucker. You're the loser.
All right, fight back, Joe.
The crimes that you are still charged with. And think of all the civil penalties you have. How many billions of dollars do you owe in civil penalties for molesting a woman in public, for doing a whole range of things, of having sex with a porn star on the night while your wife was pregnant? I mean, what are you talking about? You have the morals of an alley cat.
Fight back, Joe.
Give you a minute, sir.
I didn't have sex with a porn star, number one.
I don't know what part Trump is objecting to. He must be objecting to the star part of that. Maybe a co-star, a supporting actress.
What we're doing for other countries, and they do nothing for us. What this man has done is absolutely criminal.
I'm sorry. Did somebody just say criminal? That was your line, Joe.
They destroyed and deleted all of the information they found because they found out we were right. We were right. And they deleted and destroyed all of the information. They should go to jail for that. If a Republican did that, they'd go to jail.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden, I want to give you a minute.
The only person on this stage is a convicted felon is the man I'm looking at right now.
Okay.
Country to either be destroyed or he wants to pick up those people as voters. And I don't think we just can't let it happen. If he wins this election, our country doesn't have a chance, not even a chance, of coming out of this rut. We probably won't have a country left anymore. That's how bad it is. He is the worst in history by far.
That was his response to a question about child care. Yes, child care. Trump was Trump. He wasn't focused. He was easily triggered. Everything you want in a trash debate performance. But Joe Biden could not capitalize. You didn't even call him out on black jobs. You had a whole conversation on black families with somebody who was just revealed to have dropped an N when a black man won his business competition because he didn't think America was ready to accept that. You just had a whole conversation about black families with a man who once was sued for racial discrimination, and you didn't mention none of it? The man has embraced attacking every black person who has a black job as a DEI hire. Fox News and Reese Waters just said that about Kamala Harris.
They have opened the borders. They've changed the entire culture of this country. If you look at the cities, it's almost over. If they can drag him across the finish line and install Kamala, we have a DEI presidency that they can celebrate.
And you're not going to bring up none of it? What are we even doing? How do you talk to this man for an hour plus and you don't even bring up 2025? If that's all you had to say was Project 2025, you would have gone home with the win.
He was a very different person on the stage 4 years ago when you debated him. You must, I mean, that's certainly true, is it not?
Anderson, the point has to be performance in terms of what a president does. A president who incites an insurrection against the Capitol. No, but I got the point that you're making about a 1.5 hour debate tonight. I'm talking about 3.5 years of performance in work that has been historic.
So in other words, he lost. He's not going to like that.
These guys are nothing but lying, dog-faced pony soldiers. Except he's just a liar. Look, folks, what's going to happen over the next couple of days is they're going to be out there fact-checking all the things he said. I can't think of one thing he said that was true. No, I'm not being facetious. But look, we're going to beat this guy. We need to beat this guy. And I need you in order to beat him. You're the people I'm running for. You are the reason why America's as good as we are. We're the finest nation in the whole damn world. And no one's close. Nobody's close. But let's keep going. See you at the next one.
Where was all this energy and vigor during the debate? You saving up for the after party like J.R. Smith? And by the way, for those of you who don't know J.R. Smith, just think Michael Irvin. As for you, CNN, if you're just going to sit there and let Trump lie for 2 hours, why even have moderators? What was the point? What was the point of y'all even being there? Somebody need to take Jake Tapper and Dana Bash game checks. Yeah, somebody need to take their game checks because clearly somebody clocked them in and they did not show up to work. And to make matters worse for you, CNN, why did I see this well after the fact?
The Trump list, it is way, way longer. So deep breath. He said some Democratic states allow people to execute babies after birth, an egregious lie that is illegal in every state. He said everybody, even Democrats, wanted Roe v. Wade overturned. Roe was supported by 2/3 of Americans, even more Democrats. He said every legal scholar wanted Roe overturned, abortion returned to the states. Legal scholars have told me directly this is not true. He said the U.S. currently has the biggest budget deficit ever. No, that happened under Trump in 2020. He said the U.S. currently has a record trade deficit with China. That also happened under Trump in 2018. He said Biden personally gets a lot of money from China. Zero evidence of this. He said there were no terror attacks during his presidency. In fact, there were multiple attacks. He said Iran didn't fund Hamas, Hezbollah, other terror groups under his presidency. Iran, in fact, did. He said Biden wants to quadruple people's taxes. That is pure fiction. He said the U.S. has provided way more aid to Ukraine than Europe had. It's actually the opposite. He said the U.S. has provided about $200 billion in Ukraine aid. It's closer to $110 billion. He said 18 or 19 million people have crossed the border under Biden. That is millions too high. He said many of these migrants are from prisons or mental institutions. His own campaign cannot corroborate this. He said Biden has only created jobs for illegal immigrants. Total nonsense. He said Nancy Pelosi turned down his offer of 10,000 National Guard troops on January 6th. There's no evidence she even got such an offer. It was the president, not Pelosi, who had the power to deploy the D.C. Guard. He said Pelosi now acknowledges she turned down the troops. No, her office tells me this claim is still a lie. He said he deployed the National Guard to Minneapolis in 2020. Actually, that was the Democratic governor. He spoke of, quote, ridiculous fraud in the 2020 election. Zero evidence of any widespread fraud. He said NATO was going out of business before he took office. Completely, clearly absurd. He said the U.S. was paying 100% of NATO before he came along. The U.S. made up about 71% of NATO defense spending, not 100. He said he, not Biden, is the one who lowered insulin prices in Medicare. He did it for some seniors, but Biden did it for far more. He said Biden indicted him. Again, no evidence Biden has had a personal role in any of these 4 prosecutions. He said Europe takes no U.S. cars, just not true. He spoke of food prices quadrupling under Biden. That's a wild exaggeration, though they are up. He said Biden made up the idea he called dead service members suckers and losers. No, the Atlantic magazine reported that, and then former Trump Chief of Staff John Kelly corroborated it. He said Biden called black people, quote, super predators for 10 years. Biden never once deployed that phrase, let alone for 10 years, though he did at least once speak of, quote, predators without specifying it was about black people. He said his Trump tax cut was the largest in U.S. history. Not true, though, in fairness, Biden also said this. Trump said China and others stopped buying from Iran under him. China never stopped. He revived his pet lie, I don't know how many times I've done it, that he signed the Veterans Choice Program into law. Barack Obama did that in 2014. Trump signed an expanded version in 2018. And finally, Trump said Biden got rid of that Veterans Program. Biden has not done that.
You know when that aired? Damn near midnight. Yes, midnight. You had to watch the whole debate with no fact checking, wait another hour and a half, and then they'll get around to telling you that everything that came out of his mouth was BS. Really? Really? You just gonna bury the fact check after we just sat through all of that? Well done, CNN. Well done. Thank you. Thank you for your contributions. That was an absolute debacle. I can't think of anything worse.
Just take a look at what he says he is and take a look at what he is. Look, I'd be happy to have a driving contest with him. I got my handicap, which when I was vice president, down to a 6. But by the way, I told you before, I'm happy to play golf if you carry your own bag. Think you can do it?
That's the biggest lie, that he's a 6 handicap of all.
I was an 8 handicap.
Yeah.
8.
Never.
But I have, you know how many?
I've seen you swing. I know you swing.
Let's
not act like children.
President Trump, we're going to turn.
Let's not act like children.
You are a child.
Yeah, that was worse. That was worse.
Get mad at me if you want to. Some folks need killing.
Question, what folks you talking about? Just whoever you decide? Okay. Are you a criminal then? Hi, my name is Reese Waters and I'm troubled. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the page. You know, I literally just did my piece on Mark Robinson. That is the very, very MAGA nominee for governor in North Carolina, currently serving as lieutenant governor, just in case you missed it. This is a man who once called the civil rights movement a communist plot to subvert capitalism, and that so many freedoms were lost during the civil rights movement. And yes, that is true, like the freedom to subjugate others.
There are some people that were talking about reparations in this country. They wanted reparations. And I remember I made this particular liberal so angry at me because I told them right to their face, nobody owes you anything for slavery. If you want to tell the truth about it, it is you who owes. It's you who owes. Why do you owe? Because somebody in those fields took stripes for you. Somebody, after those fields were ended and slavery was ended, somebody had to walk through Jim Crow for you.
You're right, Mark. I do owe my ancestors who fought for me to have a better life. But what that got to do with the money, Mark? I'm confused. What does that have to do with the money? See, when you fight and sacrifice for a better life for your kids and kin, you still get paid for the work that you do. And guess what? If you did it, they're going to try and get it. Is that how you've been operating, Mark? You owe somebody money, and then if their estate tries to get it, he sacrificed and fought for you. It's you who owes. The link to that piece is in the description. You know, some people just can't get right. Some people can't get right, but normally those people, you just slide their food under the door 3 times a day and you go about your life. You don't have them working in state government. I had just dropped that piece. And like manna from heaven, we get this.
I didn't start this fight, you did. You wanted to be left alone, you should have left me alone. We didn't argue and capitulate and talk about, well, maybe we shouldn't fight the Nazis that hard. No, they're bad. Kill them. Some liberal somewhere is going to say that sounds awful. Too bad. Get mad at me if you want to. Some folks need killing.
So this was an excerpt from a half-hour speech he gave at Lake Church in the town of White Lake in the southeast corner of the state. And I think he just probably assumed it was never going to get out. You know, like those texts that you send after 1 a.m. Because I can't imagine that he wanted anybody to see this.
You know, it was a time when we used to meet evil on the battlefield.
Okay, I have a question right off the top. Is that a choir behind him? Is that a choir? Because they don't look like they're ready to participate, and they're not wearing robes. They don't even have any sort of color scheme going on. So is it a volunteer choir? Like what they got? Is that extra? Is that the auxiliary seating? Are those the ushers? Like I don't understand. Somebody tell me. Like I've been to a lot of different churches, but I never know there to be seating behind whoever is preaching. So just help me out with that. What's going on? Also, she got on shape-ups.
You know, it was a time when we used to meet evil on the battlefield, and guess what we did to it? We killed it. We didn't quibble about it. We didn't argue about it. We didn't fight about it. We killed it. When the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, what do? We flew to Japan. And we killed the Japanese Army and Navy. We didn't even quibble about it. I didn't start this fight, you did. You wanted to be left alone, you should have left me alone. We didn't argue and capitulate and talk about, well, maybe we shouldn't fight the Nazis that hard. No, they're bad. Kill them.
Why did he just make World War II sound like an episode of G.I. Joe? Like, I don't understand. Like, are you narrating a children's book? No, they're bad. We killed it. I'm guessing that there was some discussion of strategy, because that's typically how that works in the military. But of course, if you're the kind of guy who just sits back and likes to yell absurd conspiracy theories, I can see how it might to you just look like an episode of G.I. Joe.
No, they're bad. Kill them.
Is that Cobra Commander coming again? We killed him.
No, they're bad. Kill them. Some liberal somewhere is going to say that sounds awful. Too bad.
Who exactly are the Nazi defenders out here. I'm trying to figure out, you said some liberal somewhere are going to say that sounds bad. I'm trying to figure out who is re-legislating World War II. Like, I'm just trying to, oh, wait, you know who actually does defend Nazis, though? You might want to turn around, because probably some of them probably in your choir, and look in the mirror as well. That's coming from y'all. That's coming from your party, the kind of people that see any kind of good in people of that ilk.
Some liberal somewhere is going to say that sounds awful. Too bad.
Did they really just clap for this man? Huh? Did they really just clap for this man? I ain't seen an audience this easy since Wild 'N Out. You know you in a church when they clap for a trash performance. You do know. You have seen some of the worst performances of your lifetime in a church, and they clap. All that's missing is some old lady yelling, "Take your time, baby."
Get mad at me if you want to. Some folks need killing.
Question, what folks you talking about? Just whoever you decide? Okay. Are you a criminal then?
Some folks need killing.
Sound like something Dahmer would say.
Get mad at me if you want to. Some folks need killing. It's time for somebody to say it. It's not a matter of vengeance. It's not a matter of being mean or spiteful. It's a matter of necessity.
Okay, so here's my problem, Mark Robinson. I'm not sure exactly where North Carolina is when it comes to education. It's a place where my dad grew up. It's near and dear to my heart. I hate having to drag him like this, but you said if you didn't want there to be any drama, you wouldn't have started no drama. Like, that's vengeance. Like, what you talking about?
I didn't start this fight. You did. You wanted to be left alone. You should have left me alone.
Is literally vengeance. Like that wasn't even a minute ago.
It's not a matter of vengeance. It's not a matter of being mean or spiteful. It's a matter of necessity. We have wicked people doing wicked things, torturing and murdering and raping. It's time to call out those guys in green.
Ah, I got you. Okay, so you want the military to come in and handle domestic issues. Yeah, that I can't see that being problematic at all. Yeah, just have them come in like they did in Japan. They killed him.
Killed him.
I mean, if the police are doing too much of that, they killed him.
Killed him.
If the police are doing too much, they killed him.
Killed him.
And they are at least semi-trained to deal with domestic issues. How is that going to go when you bring in the military? They killed him.
Killed him.
They killed him.
It's time to call out those guys in green and go have them handle it. Or those boys in blue and have them go handle it. We need to start handling our business again, because, guys, what I said at the beginning about you getting in your cars, listening to your radio, putting on what you want to put on, and saying what you want to put on, keep thinking about it. Don't you feel it slipping away?
I know what you're saying, Mark Robinson, because we were just minding our own business and listening to our own music. And here you come, like a 60s parent, talk about Beyonce. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, because sometimes you just want to be left alone. Like, yeah, we can't even enjoy Black Panther. No, we can't even enjoy Black Panther, no. Because Mark Robinson has something to say. I know what you mean. You know, it's interesting that you would dog whistle to the folks in this church about listening to what you want to listen to and feeling like you don't have the freedom to, when you want to infringe on other people's abilities to listen to what they want to listen to.
I didn't start this fight. You did. You wanted to be left alone. You should have left me alone.
Also, I think the lady in red just stole some money out of the collection plate.
Putting on what you want to put on and saying what you want to put on, keep thinking about it. Don't you feel it slipping away?
Yeah, she slipped it under her seat. Y'all might want to check her on the way out.
Don't you feel it slipping away? Don't you feel it slipping away? The further away we get from the concept of 1776 and why we declared our independence and how we declared our independence, the further we start sliding into making 1776 a distant memory.
You know, it's funny you should say that, Mark Robinson, about the further that we get from 1776, the further away 1776 becomes. That's how time works. But I'll be honest with you, I don't think we've ever been as far away from 1776 as we are right now. I mean, when we're giving presidents immunity and making them kings and indoctrinating Christian nationalism and all facets of American life. Yeah, we've gotten pretty far away from 1776, but of course, those aren't any of the things that you have a problem with. I'll tell you what I have a problem with, though, is the fact that you're having this conversation about evil on the battlefield and doing what needs to be done, quote, because they're bad. In what context? What is the context of this conversation? Are you talking about an international war? Are you talking about some sort of intrigue? You are running for governor of North Carolina as a super MAGA at that. So you are fighting a cultural war against the left wing or even centrists or people with operable brains. It sounds to me like you're advocating for political violence.
Get mad at me if you want to. Some folks need killing.
And I think it would sound to most people like you are advocating for political violence because, quote, they're bad and you have to do what needs to be done.
No, they're bad. Kill them. Some liberal somewhere is going to say that sounds awful. Too bad.
And this is the man who Trump said was better than MLK?
I heard him coming in on the plane. I was listening, and I said to the people on the plane, watch this. This is Martin Luther King on steroids, okay? Now, I told that to Mark. I said, I think you're better than Martin Luther King. I think you are Martin Luther King times 2.
I'll never forget that day that Martin said, I might not get there with you, but I have seen the mountaintop. We killed it!
Killed him.
Welcome to the first Racist of the Month compilation. Now, typically this is where we expose the stupidity and hypocrisy of discrimination in hopes we can build a more perfect union and naturally also laugh. As usual, I would like to thank today's sponsor, Racism. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the page and definitely leave me any possible suggestions for future nominees in the comments. Now, it has been a wild month. Everything from American Airlines to Columbia, the country. From graduation to The Apprentice, we even had a pit stop in Jim Crow. So pay attention and let me know who you pick as the Racist of the Month in the comments. I'm also going to put a poll on the community tab, which is as secure an election as we have, according to Fox News. All right, let's get this thing started. Today's nominee, convicted felon Donald Trump.
The context of the fact that if they're, as we've talked about, going to now start referring to former President Trump as convicted felon Donald Trump.
Oh, no, it's not for the mugshots comment.
And then I got indicted a second time, and a third time, and a fourth time. And a lot of people said that that's why the black people like me, because they have been hurt so badly and discriminated against.
Or the bringing two felons on stage to endorse him and appeal to black people.
Come on up, fellas. Rapper Sleepy Hollow.
They always gonna whisper your accomplishments and shout your failures. Trump gonna shout the wins for all of us. Make America great again.
Or even the sneakers. It doesn't even have anything to do with the 34 felonies he was just convicted of. No. This is a whole nother racism. According to a former producer whose NDA recently expired, there are tapes of Trump dropping N-bombs on a contestant of The Apprentice. Trump is accused of using the slur during discussions about the winner of the first season. Now, rumors have long circulated that Trump used the N-word during The Apprentice's filming, with many calling for former executive producer Mark Burnett to release the footage. Emmy-nominated producer Bill Pruitt, whose NDA expired after 20 years, shared his account with Slate detailing Trump's comments. And if there's a takeaway here, other than the whole Donald Trump being racist, is we need to put some more time on them NDAs. I think so. Yeah, I think we've all learned to put a little bit more time on those NDAs. Now, Bill Pruitt recalls a discussion about the final contestant, Bill Ranchich, who won the season, and Kwame Jackson, a black man. During the discussion, Trump allegedly asked, would America buy a N winning? So, not just did he use the slur, he used the slur in the context of, I don't know if America is really going to get behind a black dude winning, a business competition. You know what I mean? I think that might be a little too far-fetched. Blacks in business? I don't know. You know what? If you take the racial slur out of that sentence, it's just a little bit less racist. Still racist, just a little bit less racist. That's how racist that statement is, that you could lose the slur and he would still be a nominee for Racist of the Week. Here is the whole exchange. Quote, I think Kwame would be a great addition to the organization, which was said to Trump, who winces while his head bobs around in reaction to what he's hearing and clearly resisting. Why didn't he just fire her, Trump asked, referring to Omarosa. It's a reasonable question, given that this is the first time we've ever been in this situation. None of this is something we expected. That's not his job, Beanstalk says to Trump. That's yours. Trump's head continues to bob. I don't think he knew he had the ability to do that. Trump winces again. Yeah, to no one in particular. But, would America buy an N winning? Kepcher's pale skin goes bright red. I turn my gaze towards Trump. He continues to wince. He's serious, and he's adamant about not hiring Jackson. Yep, just as bad as advertised. And the contestant in question, Kwame Jackson, himself gave his opinion of 45 felon previously, in case you were wondering about the nature of their relationship.
There have been rumors about this story for years, but now we have Pruitt coming forward and saying that he actually heard Trump use that word. Have you heard about this before? And what's your reaction to now knowing you were allegedly the subject of that comment?
In regards to what he said about the N-word, one, let's be clear, he did not say it to my face because it would have gone down much differently. So I cannot verify that he said that. I don't know if the tape exists. I do believe Bill Pruitt. He is a friend, and I'm happy that he finally came forward. I cannot give him a red badge of courage or profiling courage like John F. Kennedy for doing that 20 years later, but we are where we are, and because of that, we are in a situation where we're not asking the right question. It's not whether he called me the N-word. The question we should be asking is, because he did call me the N-word, what kind of permission structure has been created downstream to make racism flourish in America?
But oh yeah, that's right. Tell me again, Maggie Haberman of the New York Times. He's not racist despite the lawsuits and the ad he took out and not wanting to have a black accountant and dropping N-bombs on people. Because he once dated a biracial woman and she said so. Don't worry, I'm gonna get to Maggie Haberman soon. Now, the Biden-Harris campaign put out a whole statement in response. Quote, no one is surprised that Donald Trump, who entered public life by falsely accusing black men of murder and entered political life spreading lies about the first black president, reportedly used the N-word to casually denigrate a successful black man. Anyone notice a pattern? Donald Trump is exactly who black voters know him to be, a textbook racist who disrespects and attacks the black community every chance he gets, and the most ignorant man to ever run for president. It's why black voters kicked him out of the White House in 2020. It's why they'll make him a loser a second time this November. You know, it never ceases to amaze me the mental gymnastics that black conservatives will go to explain why Donald Trump isn't racist. And it's all right there. You ever learn the closest distance between 2 points? It's a straight line. It's a straight line of racism from the 70s all the way to 2024. Also points Biden for calling him the most ignorant man to run for president. That was pretty strong. Now, Trump himself has consistently denied using the N-word, even addressing the rumors on Twitter in 2018, claiming Burnett told him no such tapes exist. And now I need to holler at executive producer Mark Burnett, because he's been receiving a little bit of smoke, but not nearly as much as he deserves for sitting on this for all that time. Now, I'm no babe in the woods. I understand that there are NDAs in place that keep a lot of stuff under wraps. I understand all of that. I understand there's business interests, and it would look bad if you were to release something and people felt like they couldn't trust you. I get it. At the same token, how is it that me as a black man am supposed to feel about you and the products that you're putting out, knowing that you allowed this man who was spouting this kind of vitriol behind the scenes to rise to the highest office of the land, where he could affect policy affecting the ends that he denigrated behind closed doors? I get where you're coming from a business perspective, but don't expect me to rock with you. And if we're being honest, I haven't rocked with you in a minute. I mean, I was a fan of Survivor, like back in the day, back when Richard and Tina and Ethan won. But ever since then, it's really, I can't rock with Survivor. Ever since, let's play a game of hopscotch. It got weird, just doing pickup sticks for food. That was all weird. Also, Colby definitely should have beat Tina in season 2. Now, the reality is this behavior cannot persist without enabling. And in this case, it came from our very own.
What you describe in your book is a year-long effort to learn the truth about a rumor that Donald Trump had been caught on tape using the N-word while working on The Apprentice. And here's how you wrote about confirming with a source that the tape does in fact exist. Page 322 of your book. On this phone conversation, I was told exactly what Donald Trump said. Yes, the N-word and others in a classic Trump goes nuclear rant. And when he'd said them, during production, he was mic'd, and there's definitely an audio track. For over a year, I'd been so afraid of hearing the specifics from someone who'd been in the room. Hearing the truth freed me from that fear. Did you hear the tape, or did you hear a description of the tape?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on. And in this book, I describe this long journey of hearing these rumors over and over again. And when I had an opportunity to meet up with 3 different sources, they described the same exact statements. After I closed the book, I had an opportunity to go out in Los Angeles and sit down with the person who actually has a copy of the tape. And I heard his voice as clear as you and I are sitting here.
You have heard the tape?
I have heard
since
the
publication
tape.
Of this book?
Absolutely.
See, here's the problem, Omarosa. That wasn't the catalyst for you parting ways with Donald Trump. That is the problem. You might have been miffed at it at the time, but not so miffed that you weren't going to leave and divorce yourself from the man that felt that way about you. You waited until it was in your self-interest, i.e. a book, for you to communicate the reality of what was going on behind closed doors. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
But wait, there's more.
I'm trying to find out at least what context it was used in to help us maybe try to figure out a way to spin it. I said, well, sir, can you think of any time that this might have happened? And he said no.
Well, that's not true.
He goes, how do you think I should handle it? And I told him exactly what you just said, Omarosa, which is, well, it depends on what scenario you're talking about. And he said, well, why don't you just go ahead and put it to bed?
Here you have not 1, not 2, but 3 black women out here discussing how to spin the fact that Donald Trump dropped an N on a black man. And I especially appreciate the question, trying to figure out what context he used it and exactly how to spin it. That came from Katrina Pearson. So what kind of context were possible in your mind for how he could have used it? You thought he might have just been rapping to F the police? Is Donald Trump somebody that's been known to rap along to NWA and Public Enemy in his spare time? Is he a big fan of Doggy Style? Like, I don't understand what context this man could have used that wouldn't have been problematic. This whole thing is absolutely disgusting. 3 black women discussing the man calling a black man the N-word. I didn't hear the word disgust. I didn't hear the word unacceptable. Absolutely nothing. And it brings us to a very pertinent point about enabling, okay? Enabling always goes bad, and it looks worse under the light of day, because you think if you enable, maybe one day this behavior will turn around. But in reality, you are the one that's greasing the skids for this behavior to continue. It's only going to get worse. And eventually, when that behavior hits the wall, you will have been the one who made all of that possible. Which brings us to today, where I'm listening to audio of 3 black women discussing how to spin Donald Trump dropping an N-bomb on Kwame. American Airlines, come on down. Three black men have filed a federal lawsuit against American Airlines, alleging racial profiling by flight attendants on a New York City-bound flight in January. And if they were discriminating against black people on a flight bound for New York City, they were not going to have a very warm welcome. I can tell you that right now as a longtime New York City resident. The plaintiffs, Alvin Jackson, Emmanuel Jean Joseph, and Xavier Veal, claim they were removed from Flight 832 from Phoenix due to a body odor complaint, which they believe was racially motivated. Now I'm gonna stop you right there. I didn't even know you could make a body odor complaint. I had no idea. Is that what we're doing right now? Where else can I make a body odor complaint? Like the movie theater? I would definitely do one at the movie theater. I was offended by some of the odors at Golden Corral last time I went there with my family. I would love to make them Golden Corral. The subway, oh my gosh, I don't think anybody could be on the subway. I'd be riding by myself. If I could just make odor complaints on the subway, let me find out. This was filed in the Eastern District of New York. The lawsuit states that American Airlines employees approached 3 black men along with 5 other black passengers and instructed them to deboard without providing a reason. According to the complaint, the men observed that only black passengers were being ordered off the plane. Now it makes me wonder, if only black passengers were ordered off the plane and it was an odor complaint, then what was the odor? Was it cocoa butter? Was that it? Was it some sort of, was it aloe vera? Was it Afro Sheen? I got it. It was McDonald's, wasn't it? It was definitely McDonald's. This clearly was somebody that had a really bad interaction with a black person that used to lather themselves in cocoa butter, who smelled cocoa butter and had a flashback. I know somebody having a flashback when I hear somebody having a flashback. In a joint statement released by Outten and Golden LLP, the men stated, quote, "What happened to us was wrong. Imagine a flight attendant ordering every white person off a plane because of a complaint about one white person. That would never happen, but that is what happened to us. There is no explanation other than the color of our skin." And I appreciate the example that they laid out, because that is very instructive. When in doubt, wonder how it would look if your places were swapped. Is there any place on earth that would remove all the white people from anywhere because there was a complaint about one white person? Maybe a Boosie concert, but that's about it. I can't imagine that ever happening, but yet here we are, American Airlines. Represented by attorneys Susan E. Hutta and Lindsay Goldbroom of Outten and Golden, along with Michael Kirkpatrick and Lauren Bateman of Public Citizen Litigation Group, the men alleged that their removal was based solely on their race. An American Airlines representative later told them that a white male flight attendant had complained about an unidentified passenger's body odor. The lawsuit highlights that the plaintiffs did not know each other before the incident. Now, I'm gonna have to stop us once again. First of all, what kind of body odor just jumps from person to person? Why are you removing that many people because of a body odor complaint? People that aren't even in the general vicinity of one another. But this is my favorite though. They did not know one another. The people did not know one another. As absurd as it is to make an odor complaint and have somebody removed from a plane, you had more than one person removed from a plane because of an odor complaint, because I guess it's contagious, but not to the white people. The white people can't catch the odor that were in the general vicinity of the people that had the offending odor. They can't catch it. It's just only black people. Only black people are susceptible to the odor. And it jumps from black person to black person, and they don't even have to be with them. They don't even have to know them. What explanation could you possibly have for removing that many black people that don't even know one another? Ooh, put me on this jury. Put me on this jury. I will move back to New York just to be on this jury. After their removal from the plane, an American Airlines representative reportedly admitted that their removal seemed discriminatory, but allowed them back on the flight when no alternative flights were available. Now, that seems suspicious, doesn't that seem suspicious? They were removed from the flight because of an offensive odor. Did they shower while they were back at the Phoenix airport? Huh? Were there showers available? Did they go into the bathroom and just take a quick one in the sink like I used to do throughout my 20s? It doesn't sound like it. Huh. That is interesting. Just put them right back on the flight, huh? Well, we'll see. We tried to accommodate your request for an all-white flight. We did what we could, but we were unable to book the darkies. Sorry, we were unable to book the other passengers on another flight. So sorry we couldn't accommodate the all-white flight. But yes, we take your request very seriously. One white flight attendant. The plaintiffs are seeking compensation for pain and suffering, attorney fees, and punitive damages sufficient to deter future discrimination by the airline. If you ask me, they should get an unlimited number of vouchers for other airlines. I wouldn't want nothing from American Airlines after something like this. In an email statement, American Airlines announced it is investigating the incident. What's the investigation? Huh? What is the investigation? Were they removed? There's evidence that they were removed. Were they removed because of an odor complaint from one white flight attendant? That appears to be the case. And the people didn't even know each other? What's the investigation? I did all the investigation you need in this video. But anyway, they put out this statement: we take all claims of discrimination very seriously and want our customers to have a positive experience when they choose to fly with us. Our teams are currently investigating the matter as the claims do not reflect our core values or our purpose of caring for people. And I guess somewhere in that statement, it was supposed to say white people, because none of that is reflective of what happened. Like literally none of that. Michael Kirkpatrick, one of the plaintiff's attorneys, said that a complaint was filed with the U.S. Department of Transportation, prompting contact from American Airlines Customer Service Department. However, Kirkpatrick's request to speak with the airline's legal team has not been answered. I'm sure their legal team will be in touch. They gonna have to, because this made national news. Now, Kirkpatrick noted that the plaintiffs are anxious about flying with American Airlines in the future due to the incident. It's going to bring back memories of this, said one. And according to Kirkpatrick, the plaintiffs didn't notice any bad odor on the flight. Before takeoff, 8 black men were pulled off the flight without any explanation. They skipped rows of white people to get to our clients and were clearly walking through the airplane and picking out the black men with no white passengers to get off the plane. The men were allowed back on the same flight when no other flights were available, leading them to believe their removal was a pretext. And we've seen this time and time again in my Races of the Week. We've also seen it in some of my Troubling Waters, just how lazy racism has become in 2024. Just so lazy. Like, you would think you would sprinkle a couple white people in there just to protect yourself. But just know the pure, unadulterated, ever clear, 100% pure racism. Like, that's what we're doing in 2024. Upon reboarding, the men felt angered, frustrated, fearful, and embarrassed. Other passengers expressed shock at the apparent racial targeting. And that is a situation I've been in before. I don't know if you've ever been just the epitome of disgust. I mean, like a 9 or 10 out of 10, but you were at the airport or you were on an airplane and you know good and damn well that if you wild out, it's gonna get worse before it gets better. I'm knocking stuff over on my table. Just the memory of what happened got me clearing off my table. The lawsuit adds to a series of incidents involving American Airlines and allegations of racial discrimination. In 2020, Aubrey Kelly and Elgin Banks, both black men, sued the airline for racial discrimination. Their case was dismissed in favor of American Airlines because, of course, it was. In 2017, the NAACP even issued a travel advisory warning black passengers to exercise caution when flying with the airline after multiple incidents involving black passengers. And you would think that an airline that had to have a travel advisory issued against it by the NAACP would mind their P's and Q's. You know what I mean? Like, you would think if you had to have a travel advisory, whoa, is there a COVID breakout? Is it Ebola? Like, what do we got going on? Is there a war going on? Nah, racism. Nah, racism. They're just racist. That's why we had to issue a travel advisory. That is wild. And you know what I blame for all this? You know what I blame? I blame DEI. I blame DEI. I do. Because if they didn't have to diversify the flight attendants, you wouldn't have these knucklehead. What's that? Oh, the offending flight attendant was white? Oh, okay. Oh. You know what? It's still DEI though. It's still DEI. Because if they didn't have to diversify the plane, right? If they didn't have to diversify the plane, they wouldn't have these issues. If they could have had an all-white plane, it would have been no offending odor. You know what I mean? It would have been no issue if they didn't have to diversify the plane. So if you have a nice all-white plane, then you got no issues going from Phoenix to New York. But in all reality, this is a textbook case for DEI, right? In all seriousness, because if you had black people in decision-making positions, while you tried to take that many black people off of a flight who don't know one another because of one white person's odor complaint, they would have told you, what the f are you doing? They gonna sue the hell out of us, put them back on the flight, and get your ass in the unemployment line, which is what needed to be said. That is exactly what needed to be said. But because you don't have anybody black sitting in your common sense booth, this is what you got. Now you're getting sued. Now, I've been intending to address Florida Congressman Byron Donalds for a long time.
They are lying to you. They are cheating you out of the prosperity that should be yours. But in about 5 months, there is one guy who's going to turn all that around, and he's the 47th president, Donald J. Trump.
But I figured Tim Scott could outshuffle him into Donald Trump's good graces long enough for me to handle my business first.
We need a president who will restore law and order. We need Donald Trump. Oh, we need a president who will lower our taxes and not raise our taxes. We need a president like Donald Trump.
But no, Byron Donalds decided today was the day he wanted to go full ruckus. Appearing at a Trump campaign event in Philadelphia aimed at engaging black voters, this man said he's starting to see the reinvigoration of the black family, which he described as younger people forming nuclear family units and helping to breed the revival of the black middle class in America. He went on to say that those family values had previously been eroded by Democratic policies that black voters embraced after becoming loyal to the party due to the civil rights movement. Quote, you see, during Jim Crow, the black family was together. During Jim Crow, more black people were not just conservative. Black people have always been conservative-minded, but more black people voted conservatively. He then said, and then HEW, Lyndon Johnson, you go down that road, and now we are where we are. He added, referring to the former U.S. Department of Health, Education, and Welfare. Oh, you know, that whole civil rights movement and them pushing for full enfranchisement of black people. Oh man, that really will curry some favor. You know what I mean? That really will affect people's voting patterns, you know, when you see them as whole people. Now, it's so interesting that he mentioned Jim Crow specifically, because he could have just referred to that era of time, which still would have been problematic, but he could have just referred to that era of time. He could have said in decades past. He could have said in that century. He could have said something like that, but he specifically mentioned Jim Crow. I wonder what it was about Jim Crow that really warms his feet. Like, what was it about Jim Crow? And those of you who don't know, by the way, Jim Crow existed for about 100 years from the post-Civil War era until 1968. The whole intention was to marginalize African Americans. You know, the thing that we worked to undo with that whole civil rights movement, which married black folks to the Democratic Party. The whole idea was denying black folks the right to vote, hold jobs, get an education, and really any other opportunities for growth and development. Those who attempted to defy Jim Crow laws often face arrests, fines, jail sentences, violence, and even death. Public parks were forbidden for African Americans to enter, and theaters and restaurants were segregated. You know Byron Donalds, the good old days. Segregated waiting rooms and bus and train stations were required, as well as water fountains, restrooms, building entrances, elevators, cemeteries, and even amusement park cashier windows. But you know, they were voting right. You know, when they were voting right. Laws forbade African Americans from living in white neighborhoods. Segregation was enforced for public pools, phone booths, hospitals, asylums, jails, residential homes for the elderly and the handicapped. Some states required separate textbooks for black and white students, which actually sounds like that might happen again. I'll be honest. Let me put a pin in that one. New Orleans mandated the segregation of prostitutes according to race. I mean, really? We can't even come together in a moment of love and short-term intimacy. We can't even come together for that. I bet that was one of the most problematic aspects of it, given how popular interracial is in any search. In Atlanta, African Americans in court were given a different Bible from white people to swear on. I guess that was the gospel Bible that we were given. We were given the gospel Bible, and I bet the gospel Bible was like twice as long, because Lord knows our services be way longer. Now, I actually went down a rabbit hole of Jim Crow. I'm no stranger to this era of time, as I articulated on this channel before. This is something that I take great interest in. But I went down this rabbit hole of Jim Crow, thanks to you, Byron Donalds. And there was stuff that even I didn't know. Did you know that black people were not allowed to show public affection towards one another in public, especially kissing, because it offended white people? That's right, just a black couple minding their own black business, doing their own black thing, have to stop and watch themselves if white people happen to see them, or else they might become offended, which is so confusing, because Lord knows any association with a black man and a white woman was problematic. Here he has showing absolutely no interest. He's with a black woman. You should actually feel empowered. That should make you feel secure in yourself. But no, even that is a problem. It's almost like the problem is the thing. It's not what you're doing. It's that we want to find a way to create a problem. Now, Jim Crow etiquette prescribed that black people were introduced to white people, never white people to black people, which must be really confusing if you happen to be in mixed company. Quite frankly, in an instance like that, I would just rather not be around white people. It's just way too many rules to have to abide by. Now, white people, of course, didn't have to use courtesy titles of respect when referring to black people, like Mr., Mrs., Sir, or Ma'am, but instead black people were called by their first names, but black people yet had to use courtesy titles when referring to white people, and were not allowed to call them by their first names. You can never assert or intimate that a white person is lying, and if there's a more abused rule of etiquette during the Jim Crow era, it was this one. So basically, whatever the white person says goes. And we saw that be deeply, deeply problematic when it comes to our criminal justice system. You could never lay claim to or overly demonstrate superior knowledge or intelligence of a white person. And I can't imagine some of the folks we got walking around today and not being able to call them out on their ignorance. In fact, that is probably what empowers them right now. I could think of a great number of people whose rise is purely because of the fact that nobody has checked them on their lack of knowledge or intelligence. That is something that really has survived far too long, not even from a racial aspect, just from a societal point. We we definitely need to check people on their knowledge and intelligence, especially if they're going to be servicing the House of Representatives. You can never laugh derisively at a white person. We've all been in a group where people were playing the dozens or making jokes back and forth. And of course, if you don't laugh, that's going to be a problem. But if you laugh too hard, that's a problem too. You can never comment upon the appearance of a white female. We know all about that one. This is one that I didn't even know and understand how it's even possible. White motorists had the right of way at all intersections. I mean, the level of racism, you are willing to endanger the public safety in order to preserve the subjugation of black people. So I am supposed to look around at the race of all of the other people that are driving to make sure that I give white people the right of way. That's crazy. Now, Minority Leader and future House Speaker, is he House Speaker yet? No? Okay, we're waiting for Marjorie Taylor Greene to chase another couple Republicans off. She's almost there though. She's really done a great job. Okay, future House Speaker Hakeem Jeffries, like me, took great exception.
Mr. Speaker, it has come to my attention that a so-called leader has made the factually inaccurate statement that black folks were better off during Jim Crow. That's an outlandish, outrageous, and out-of-pocket observation. We were not better off when a young boy named Emmett Till could be brutally murdered without consequence because of Jim Crow. We were not better off when black women could be sexually assaulted without consequence because of Jim Crow. We were not better off when people could be systematically lynched without consequence because of Jim Crow. We were not better off when children could be denied a high-quality education without consequence because of Jim Crow. We were not better off when people could be denied the right to vote without consequence because of Jim Crow. How dare you make such an ignorant observation? You better check yourself before you wreck yourself.
Now, you know a man is serious when he quotes Rex in effect. That was well done by Hakeem Jeffries. I would actually say he raised the roof. That was the bomb. That was the bomb, what he gave me right there. No, hugely significant, important points that he presented about the ramifications of running afoul of all those things I just laid down during Jim Crow. That was the reality. Now, I'm still going to give Byron Donalds the full Reese Waters treatment because he deserves it. So look out for that coming soon, but here's why I'm troubled. It was bad enough to have to deal with Make America Great Again. Yeah, that's right. Who doesn't want to hearken back to the glory days of America's history where black people were disenfranchised? That was bad enough, but you also see a rolling back of rules and laws and of society's fabric. You've seen Clarence Thomas on the Supreme Court gut the Voting Rights Act. You just saw him attack Brown versus the Board of Education, something I never thought would happen. I think of that as one of the greatest days in this country's history. And here we are in 2024 and it's being attacked. And here you have somebody hearkening back to Jim Crow. But what makes it all the more problematic is it's us. You have a black man hearkening back to the days of Jim Crow. You have a black man attacking Brown versus the Board of Education. You have a black man gutting the Voting Rights Act, which tells me that there is no line that folks will not cross if they see it as being in their own personal interest. For Byron Donalds to sit up here and hearken back to the glory days of black conservatives, which was Jim Crow, a period of time in which not only could he not serve in Congress, but his own family would be a crime, is outrageous. The complete lack of self-awareness and the complete lack of peace with the realities of that time versus the realities of the day are insane. And this is somebody who has that level of judgment who is serving in our U.S. Congress. Now, the graduation ceremony at a Wisconsin high school took a chaotic turn when a white student's father disrupted the proceedings, confronting the black superintendent for reasons I'll articulate in great detail in just a moment. First, check out the video.
Oh, excuse
listening. Where's Brendan? Where's Brendan? Where's Brendan?
Get away from me, bro.
No, don't.
Hey, no. Hey, you need to get. Hey.
Walk away.
You gotta go. I will get off. Out right now.
I don't want to.
I don't care. Get off the stage right now. Get off.
That way, Michael. No. Where's Brendan? Who's there?
Brendan's.
Okay. Who's up?
Now, the video shows a young girl donned in her cap and gown walking across the stage for her big moment, one which she's prepared for quite a long time for, I can imagine, approaching a line of administrators to shake hands. While she was about 3 administrators away from Baraboo School District Superintendent Rainey Briggs, a black man, the student's father enters and shoves the superintendent out of the way, declaring, "That's my daughter. I don't want her touching him." Man, why could that be? Huh? Why? I'm wondering why. What could be the issue with the superintendent? I mean, he does happen to be the only person of color on stage. Could that be it? Could that be? Or maybe it's just because he's superintendent and nobody gonna be super around my daughter, because my daughter is the only super one. So she not meeting no superintendent. We're not doing that. I'm running out of possible explanations before we get to the obvious. Now, in response, Briggs, off camera, demanded that the father remove his hands. The incident, mostly out of video frame, caused a temporary halt to the ceremony, leaving the student visibly shocked and embarrassed. Which brings me to him deciding that this was the moment that he was going to make a stand. Something that his daughter, I'm sure, was looking quite forward to. He decided, you know what? I understand that this is my daughter's big moment and this is something she might remember for the rest of her life. But she ain't gonna be touching no colors. She ain't gonna be touching no colors. If there's one thing that I want her to remember for the rest of her life, it's never to touch black men. That is the thing I want her to remember for the rest of her life. I also find it kind of interesting how shocked and appalled she was in this particular instance. I'm grateful for that reaction because that tells me that this behavior is not normalized. At the same time, I wonder how it could be that a man who chooses this moment for him to take a stand in public, that his daughter is not going to touch a black man's hand, how that behavior is not something that has presented itself in the past. Like, I can't imagine just living in a home with a man who decided that was his moment to strike is an anti-racist environment. State Rep Francesca Hong told the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel that the incident was purely racist. Unless there was another deliberate reason, there was nobody else he pushed out of the way, end quote. She also condemned the act on social media, labeling it as gross and racist conduct. I don't want to automatically jump to racism, but what else could his motivations possibly be? Well, I really disagree with some of the decisions that have been made by the superintendent and also the administration. And so while I'm totally fine with her touching everybody else and shaking hands, I just can't have my daughter shake hands with the superintendent because that would be an implicit approval of everything that he has done during his tenure. What? I mean, make it make sense. You know how bad it is when racism is the best explanation? Not like the best from a moral standpoint, but the most sensible explanation. Because I have seen people try to make excuses for this and say it might not have to do with race. Make your case. Make your case. Right? Because we all know that all the people that I shook hands with on stage, all throughout my grade school, junior high, and high school years meant an approval of how they've been operating the school district. Yeah, I am tied to my association with the principal and superintendents I shook hands with in 8th grade. That makes me culpable in all of their behavior. What the are you talking about? That doesn't make any logical sense. Now, unlike many similar incidents, this one actually resulted in immediate consequences for the father. The Baraboo School District responded swiftly, as reported by WKOW. The district confirmed that law enforcement referred a disorderly conduct charge against the father to the Sauk County District Attorney's Office. The Baraboo School Resource Officer, along with 2 off-duty officers present at the ceremony, quickly managed the situation. The police escorted the parent off stage and out of the venue. Quote, "We emphasize that the safety and well-being of our students, staff, and community members is a top priority. The school district of Baraboo is taking this incident very seriously," which was stated by a district spokesperson. Now, if you watch the video at the very end, there is quite a commotion in the crowd. Now, you could read this as people approving of the officers stepping in and removing the father from stage, or you could possibly read this as folks advocating for the father and being happy that he chose the moment to take a stand. You could be on either side of that. Now my natural inclination when I watch the video is the former, is to say that the people were reacting to the officers removing the father from stage and they wanted to continue on with the ceremony. They didn't appreciate this disruption. That was my natural reading of the situation. And then I saw that this is the same district where a photo came out showing students in the high school doing an apparent Nazi salute. Yeah, if this was a court of law, I would just rest my case. I would just rest my case. I have no more questions at this time, Your Honor. I would appreciate privacy for me and my family in this moment while we reflect and do some rethinking on my prior belief that we lived in a good and just society. Now, the father is scheduled to appear in Sauk County Circuit Court in August, though his name was largely omitted from reports to protect his daughter's identity. Now, this had been out for a couple of days without anybody actually identifying the father, which is curious because typically when somebody engages in behavior like this, they get identified. Also, typically when somebody has charges pressed against them, they get identified. But we chose to protect his identity in order to protect the daughter. So it's totally fine for him to put his daughter in that situation. He didn't see any need to protect his daughter by not having this viral moment of blatant racism on stage while she was getting her diploma, but we are going to choose to protect his daughter. So we are choosing to show more care about his daughter than he showed. I also find it curious. We all know who the superintendent is. We all know who that is. We all know that he was left out there and exposed for a father to come on stage and put his hands on him. So we didn't protect the superintendent. We didn't protect the superintendent, but we got to make sure we protect the racists. Oh, y'all ain't slick. Y'all ain't slick. Yeah, we let him march right on stage and put his hands on the superintendent, but we got to protect his identity, for his daughter, right? We got to protect his identity. Save him from his racism, but certainly not going to save us from his racism. Now, as much as I hate to be the bearer of bad news for all the people that worked so hard and twisted themselves into pretzels to try and protect this man from himself, Matt Eady. Yeah, we know who you are, Matt Eady. Yeah, we know who you are. Yeah, they found the employer and everything. Yeah, they got you, man. They found you, Matt Eady. You thought that we were going to protect you, right? You thought that we were going to protect you and not the superintendent. That's not what I do. Yeah, you go on stage and you behave like that, then you can answer for your behavior. And no, I don't associate your daughter with your behavior. And quite frankly, I hope she's doing okay having grown up in a home with you. So congratulations to you, Matt Eady. You are our third Racist of the Week nominee. And my goodness, racists are getting absolutely bold. You see this? They just getting bold. Like I said in the American Airlines piece, like you would think they would sprinkle a couple of white people in there just so it wasn't so obvious you're removing the black people from the plane. Black people that didn't even know each other, mind you. Now, if you were gonna come on stage and have an issue, you sure you didn't want to just take your daughter off stage and say, I don't want to shake hands with the administrators? To those that are making the nonsense case that this was politically motivated or this was somehow motivating the job he was doing in the district, the better move for your case would have been for him to separate her from all of the administrators, not the only black one. That is how lazy racists are getting in 2024, and that is how bold racists are getting in 2024. Not bad at all. This month started fast and furious, which is good for me. Very, very bad for America, but good for Racist of the Week. Here's a fun fact too. Did you know that Nikki Haley has 3 times more Racist of the Week nominations than Donald Trump? I know. It more has to do with when I started it, because obviously if I was doing this during his presidency or before his presidency or when he was just a businessman in New York or the housing thing, or really if I would have started at any time before a couple months ago, he would be dominating by like some factor of 20. But that is the case right now. Do you think the rest of the month can finish out strong? Let's see. Unemployed Lily Gaddis and many, many more. You'll see. Let's start with her. Now, Lily Gaddis was a self-described trad wife TikToker who was axed from her graphic design gig this week after casually dropping the N-word in a cooking video.
You're getting the opinion of some dumb whores and immigrants fresh off the boat looking for a green card. Yes, they are probably gold diggers, but that's the exception. I'm the rule. Everybody I know who's married right now, they're married to broke-ass niggas. And they don't care. We don't give a fuck about your money. I couldn't care less about your fucking money, okay? My type is broke mechanics and surfer hippie dudes who just want to live in a shack and surf and have babies.
Now, I originally ignored this video. I didn't plan on covering this for a couple reasons. Number one, the video didn't really offend me that much. It didn't curdle my cocoa butter. I mean, if I made a video every time somebody dropped an N-word, I would have to open up like 400 or 500 more channels. I mean, I just don't have the bandwidth for it. The second, the reason why I wasn't going to originally cover this video is I mentioned that she was recently let go from her gig. Well, this was her boss. So I have to ask you, what self-respecting racist is out here working for a black woman? I mean, you let me know. Is that really what's hot in the racist streets? Like, I haven't known when she was playing the long game. She was trying to sink her company from the inside. So I felt like this didn't rise to the level of something I would cover in Racist of the Week. However, it was after her firing that things really got interesting. First, her boss, Terry Lindo, who was the owner of Rofi of the Carolinas, was flooded with racist comments after the firing. Now help me out, racists, because the thing that you love to assert is that black people just point to racism where it doesn't exist, and we claim there's racism behind every rock and every corner, except what you did to Terry Lindo made racism appear behind every rock and every corner. Like you are creating the thing that you claim to not exist. I'm trying to figure out the level of hustling backwards that this is right now. Like what kind of defense was that for the original? Like, what you did was way worse than the original. I'm trying to figure out how that works in her favor. And it was in digging into Lily Gaddis's background that things really got interesting. Even though the original post wasn't as bad as the response from these knuckleheads on social media, turns out it was just the tip of the proverbial racist iceberg for her. And this moment just provided a platform for her to unleash.
It is not one single word. It is a pattern of behavior. For example, this happened last night, just in response to one person. And there's a lot of this kind of stuff on her profile. And just in case she applies at other companies that maybe don't realize and think this was a one-off incident, in the aftermath of that, rather than learning any kind of lesson, stuff like this was done. That was her tweet, and then this account, Animals, Indeed, We All Have Your Back, and she says, hell yeah. Who is that was retweeting her? Aryan HQ, as in this white supremacy propaganda pushing accounts on Twitter that supports the Aryan race, the master race theories, and posts plenty of stuff in line with that. And she saw a retweet from them and she was like, hell yeah. And you might be like, well, maybe she doesn't know what they're about. Oh no, I'm fairly certain that she does because she follows them. So she should be well aware of what they're all about. And when someone pointed that out publicly, she told them to S her D. So, classy on top of everything else. These are just 3 recent ones I quickly grabbed to show. But I got a ton of these after posting a video about her. Some of these, though, they alternated in fat and Jew as well. But aside from those 2 words, it's pretty much all just those words, just over and over again. Like, they have the vocabulary of a poorly trained parrot. On the surface, it looks like she's suffering the consequences of her actions, but with her leaning into it, I wouldn't be surprised if in the near future she got offered like a correspondence job at Newsmax or Fox.
So a recent video of mine seems to have upset members of a certain community, and all the backlash just really made me, just really do a deep dive, like do a soul search. And after all that, I still couldn't find a care.
Gaddis has spent the week dropping even more slurs as she's embraced right-wing fear-mongering that white women aren't giving birth enough.
Yeah. Hey, America. Hey, people not having kids. You are some stupid motherfuckers out there. The birth rate is declining, and what are you doing? You're getting married. Like, why even bother fucking getting married, you loser? You're getting married. You have some fucking dog in a stroller like a and then what are you doing? How are you helping America? We're letting the birth rates decline, and I'm speaking particularly to white people. So today, I want you to take the time out of your day to thank a single mom, because us girls getting knocked up, we're the only ones helping with the declining birth rate. You're welcome, America. You're fucking welcome, God.
Now, as I mentioned, Gaddis is a self-described trad wife, a trend in recent years where influencers have embraced traditional gender roles, posting videos that show them cooking dishes from scratch and caring for their families, a Harrison Butker fantasy. But here she is in these trad wife streets, despite the fact that she was clearly working as a graphic designer. But wait, it gets better. You know that whole thing about a trad wife, being a wife? Gaddis has given no indication that she's married or even has a man. Her personal Instagram remains private, but a second public account just shows a single post being a selfie. Still, Gaddis' continued rage baiting has led many to dig into her life with old videos and screenshots showing her posing in multiple photos with a young child. She appeared to confirm claims that the kid was hers, responding to one comment, "My son is white as hell." So let me get this straight. You are a trad wife, a traditional wife, who works outside the home, but doesn't even have a man. Like you're not even a wife. I'm trying to figure this out. Like, you might as well go on Basketball Wives with that kind of resume. I mean, Lord knows that is one place where they will accept you not being a wife. You are the trad wife equivalent of Basketball Wives. At least I understand it. And you still out here posting about people needing to have more kids, which naturally you would want them to happen in families, without having a family of your own. All of a sudden, it makes perfect sense that random turn that you made in that video about single mothers, you just needed to find a way to include you. Now, here's the part where I come for the rest of y'all, and the reason why I posted this video in the first place, because I just would have let her be hateful and sorry on her own. Several conservative outlets and commentators have come to her defense and provided her a platform.
You recently just went extremely viral, gained over 100,000 followers in 2 days on X alone, due to a TikTok video that you filmed of you saying, I think you're talking about broke ass niggas.
I think this is your first public interview. Is this your first public interview?
Yes, I had to save it for my favorite InfoWars warrior.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
Why? Why? What has she done to warrant being on your shows? Does she have a plan for the border? Has she developed a novel way for Trump to raise bail money? No, none of that. No, she's just racist. That's it. That's it. She's just racist. That is literally it. The level to which you played yourselves, and no, I won't give her any credit because of that whole thing about working for a black woman. I'm not going to give her any credit for any grand plan. The level that you played yourselves by admitting that all you have to do to rise in the ranks of conservative media is be racist. That's it. That is literally your only job, to rise in the ranks of conservative media. And that's something that she acknowledged herself when she tweeted, "Thanks, black community, for helping to launch my new career in conservative media. You all played your role well, like the puppets that you are." And I know I don't take offense to that, because she clearly confused her past employer with her future employers. They will be launching your career, and they played their role like the puppets that they are. And again, I will echo something that I said earlier with the trolls who responded by blasting her ex-employer with the racist comments. Here you had an opportunity of a woman who had absolutely no qualifications to be a commentator. She had no qualifications to be a leader. She had no qualifications to do anything but apparently the graphic design that she was doing. Her sole qualification is being racist, and y'all just couldn't resist, could you? You just couldn't resist. You knew, you're like, wow, it's gonna look really bad if we have this person on just purely by virtue of the fact that she said something racist. Like that's not gonna look good, right? That's not gonna look good for who we are. The kind of thing that we try and deflect about who we are as a platform gets exploded if we bring on this person just for being racist, and you couldn't resist. You like, no, we have to cape for a fellow racist. We can't. No racist left behind. No racist left behind. That's what I was taught. That's what I was taught. No racist left behind. So congratulations to Lily Gaddis, and especially congratulations to the conservative media apparatus. And I believe y'all probably remember Matt Eady. It's only been about a week or so. That was the white father who disrupted his daughter's high school graduation ceremony by rushing the stage and shoving the black superintendent.
Oh. Excuse me. Where's Brendan?
Man, you better get up
Where's
off
Brendan?
me, man.
Where's
Get away from me, bro.
No, don't.
Hey, no, you need to get, hey,
Walk away. Walk away.
You gotta
I will get off.
out right now.
I don't want her touching
I don't
me.
care. Get off the stage right now.
Well, now he is outright denying that his actions were racially motivated. Now, Matt Eady didn't attend a court hearing recently in person, but his lawyer, Carl Gebhardt III, spoke on his behalf, making it clear the incident had nothing to do with race. Quote, "My client understands the concerns about racism, what happened on May 31st had nothing to do with race. Briggs also revealed to the Daily Mail that Edie's lawyer had reached out to express remorse a day earlier. However, Briggs remained firm in his stance, stating that an apology ain't gonna cut it. Quote, an apology just doesn't make things go away. I don't think an apology and I'm sorry makes this go away because there's a lot of harm that was caused. Now, with respect to court interests, I understand that an open case is not something that you want to be discussing out in the open, but I have never needed an attorney to dismiss allegations of racism. I don't know that anybody that I've ever known has needed an attorney to deny that their actions were in fact racist. Hey man, my bad, it wasn't racist. I don't know that that would get you in any legal trouble, so I'm not exactly sure what the whole hiding behind the attorney is. And if there's one thing that we know about him, he's definitely not shy.
Oh.
So I'm not going to give him the, well, he's not a public person. He's very private, so he's going to use his lawyer to do the talking for him. Oh yeah, because that was a very private person that ran up on stage and announced himself to America. Now, Superintendent Rainey Briggs was in court seeking a restraining order against Edie, which the court granted. The incident occurred during the graduation ceremony at Baraboo High School, where Edie, 49, disrupted the event by rushing the stage to prevent Briggs from shaking his daughter's hand. Edie later explained that his actions were driven by anger over the school's treatment of his daughter, who had been expelled for undisclosed disciplinary reasons. Now, during the hearing, Briggs presented videos showing Edie forcibly stopping him from shaking hands with his daughter as he was about to receive her diploma. Edie could be heard saying, quote, "You're not going to touch my effing daughter." The judge issued a 4-year restraining order with penalties for violations, including a $10,000 fine and up to 90 days in jail if violated. Now, I will restate something that I mentioned in the initial video, which, by the way, the description will include the link to that. I have never known you to hold a school superintendent, the superintendent of the district, responsible for disciplinary reasons. That is a new one. That is a new one. I've heard the teacher. I have heard the principal. I have even heard the guidance counselor. I've heard other kids. I've heard other kids' parents. At no point have I ever heard the superintendent. And you know what? I wish I knew that as a kid. I wish I knew that. You know what, Mama? No, it wasn't. See, the superintendent. That's really who is the superintendent of the whole school district who is responsible for breaking that window. Yeah, he encourages my truancy. I also find it odd that it wasn't as if you took issue with the superintendent in a general way. You specifically removed him from stage and didn't want him touching your daughter. Ooh, that seems a scant racist, right? That just seems a scant racist. I don't want you to touch this man. That was the issue, was the touching, right? Was the touching, because we don't have a history here in America of issues of touching between interracial groups. That's never really been a thing. And I also love, if you wanted to stand on business, right? I want to stand on business. I have issues with how he conducted himself. How are you conducting yourself where you feel like you have the audacity to go up on stage and remove him? You didn't bring your daughter off stage. You didn't tell her, I don't want her. You removed him. She's going to have her moment, but I'm going to remove you. And oh yes, my behavior will not take away from her moment at all, right? Because the only person that can see me is Rainey Briggs. Now, Briggs, by the way, testified that the restraining order was necessary not only for his own safety, but also for the safety of his family, colleagues, and students he interacts with daily, saying, quote, "The break in safety and civility is unprecedented in our work as educators." He expressed sympathy for those disrupted by the incident, including Edie's daughter and the 3,000 attendees at the ceremony, saying, "My heart goes out to his students, to his daughter, and to everybody in attendance that night. Hopefully these things can be resolved in some positive way." So I see that Briggs is taking the high road and extending some grace to the audience, because they was cheering, and I wasn't exactly sure why, because I had brought up what had happened with the high school just a couple of years earlier. Meanwhile, Edie's lawyer described his actions as those of an immature and upset father, emphasizing that Edie did not harm or intimidate Briggs, saying the truth here is we have a father who was upset with how his daughter was treated by the district and particularly the superintendent. My client's actions are immature, patronizing, and incredibly embarrassing, but immature acts are not harassment. Okay, so if running up on stage and removing the superintendent and saying you're not touching my effing daughter, so if that's not harassment and it's not harm and it's not intimidation, what was it?
That's assault. That is assault.
Huh? What was it? I mean, you have taken a lot off the table. What exactly was it, if not harm, harassment, or intimidation? Was it horseplay? Is that what it is? Was he playing? Was it a loving embrace? I'm trying to figure out what you have left on the table for me. And it's not helped that Edie himself initially tried to claim that Briggs touched him first.
Again, I didn't see what happened, so I don't know what the physicality of it was. Was it a body block? I mean, what are we talking about? Exactly. That's all it was. Was there pushing? Was there shoving? Not telling me you got to put his hands on me. I didn't come up to him like, knock him out or push him down.
I need to know in what world you can run up on stage, remove somebody, actually say, I don't want you touching my daughter, and feel like you would touch first. That is a level of delusion that we need to investigate as a society. That doesn't even obey the laws of physics. For you to run up on stage and then everybody shifts backwards into the left, but you were touched first. I think you should go back to school, sir. I think you deserve the seat that your daughter just vacated, either by graduation or suspension. You should go ahead and get that seat. And by the way, Rainey Briggs should remain the superintendent as well in charge of your schooling. By the way, since the initial video, we actually have another angle just to cement that point. Now, Edie's lawyer was particularly sensitive to the claim the incident was racially motivated, noting that Edie would have reacted similarly regardless of who the superintendent was. Now, that might make some sense if you had beef with the superintendent specifically, except
They don't want him to be able to shake her down because he doesn't deserve it from her. And all the she went through in this district. I'm not aware of allegations where Dr. Briggs doing anything to your daughter specifically. No, it wasn't him specifically. Okay.
in his own words, he does not have a specific beef with the superintendent. But that was who he decided to run up on stage and put his hands on and shove out of line and say, "You're not gonna touch my effing daughter." I'm running out of excuses. I mean, really, like, you want to tell me it's not racism, but he's saying that he put his hands on her first, which we know is a lie, so your credibility is shot. And then you see that you don't even have a specific beef with this particular dude. So racism is very upset that you're ignoring him right now. What do you want? Oh, well, see, no, because he used to be, in his heyday, he used to be an offensive lineman. And so he's used to clearing out the outside. So that's why he went and got Rainey Briggs, because he was trying to clear the way for his daughter to come through, like a rush. His daughter was supposed to hit the hole, after he blocked and cleared the way. I got nothing. I got nothing for you. Now, Briggs himself acknowledged that while the optics were poor, he never directly accused Edie of racism. We're just gonna let the video speak for itself, saying, quote, "What I did say is that the optics don't look good." And I wanna be very clear that the optics don't look good, given it wasn't specifically Dr. Briggs that did something, but Dr. Briggs was the one that was attacked. Exactly. Now, following the confrontation, Edie was escorted out of the building and arrested for disorderly conduct. He blamed school officials for his daughter's expulsion, though Briggs clarified he had no role in disciplinary actions and didn't even recognize Edie during the incident, saying, quote, "I wouldn't have been able to pick this guy out of any crowd. It wasn't until after that I was able to pull his name up in the system to see who this was." Shocking, his name was up in the system. I wonder, what's Edie's side of the story?
She was expelled for doing the same thing that was done to her, and nothing happened to the previous people. And we had to have the meeting in here with him, the school board. Like an expulsion hearing? Yeah. And he was rolling his eyes when I brought up the fact that the same thing happened to her. And you.
So that's why you made this scene. That is why you made this scene, because you were mad that she was disciplined for something you don't deny even that she did, but just claiming that other people did it too. Now, I felt bad for her before for having to grow up in this house, but knowing that this is an acceptable explanation for you that other people were doing it too. That is the kind of thing that kids tell to parents, not the kind of thing that parents tell to police. Now, at a school board meeting, members condemned Edie's actions and defended the superintendent. Although Briggs didn't attend, he stated he has no plans to step down from his leadership role. Edie denied pre-planning the episode and told police he even walked out when Briggs gave his speech. However, he was seen pacing by the bleachers before rushing in front of the stage to clap for his daughter, then leaping over the steps to reach Briggs. Kind of sounds planned to me. Kind of sound planned to me. Sound like you getting your energy up like Sonic the Hedgehog. This is the rare moment where you are better off just getting in your car and leaving. Typically, I don't tell people to run away from their problems. You should have ran away from this problem. I don't think that I've ever considered a scenario ever before in my life where it would have been better for a parent to leave their child's graduation. But you are the first, sir. You are the first. She would have been better off. Everybody would have been better off if you would have abandoned the graduation or just made up an excuse why you couldn't be there in the first place. I got to go down to the foundry. Whatever it is would have been better off than what you did. Now, the confrontation occurred amid broader tensions within the school district. Superintendent Briggs and the school board have faced criticism from a group of outraged residents. They're currently trying to recall school board president Kevin Vodak, who was present at the graduation. Vodak has been accused of favoritism and failing to provide adequate pay and support for teachers. Critics have also pointed to a high turnover of staff during Briggs' tenure. But guess who nobody put their hands on? Huh? Guess who didn't get shoved out of line or body blocked? School board president Kevin Vodak. Yes, that is correct. Briggs also faced scrutiny over his salary and the contracts awarded to his consulting firms. That doesn't shock me at all. What's his brother making all this money? You know what? He driving a brand new car. I mean, not new, but it was since 2020. Briggs, while acknowledging the disruption caused by the incident, expressed hope for a positive resolution. But there won't be one to this video. Missouri Secretary of State candidate Valentina Gomez. Now, it is hard to be black out here in 2024. First, you got the systemic issues that we refuse to address, which apparently seem to be growing. Now we're coming after Brown versus Board of Education because we got ruckus on the Supreme Court. But then we get ruckuses and Sambos that come in every color and apparently in every gender. Now, I did not want to talk about this lady. I really did not want to talk about this lady. I didn't want to give her the attention she so clearly wanted. I swear I didn't. But some gnats just need to be swatted. Here's where I decided enough was enough. You remember the recent Races of the Week I did on Lily Gaddis?
Immigrants fresh off the boat looking for a green card. Yes, they are probably gold diggers, but that's the exception. I'm the rule. Everybody I know who's married right now, They're married to broke-ass niggas.
A few moments later.
I think this is your first public interview. Is this your first public interview?
And you couldn't resist. You like, no, we have to cape for a fellow racist. We can't, no racist left behind. Yeah, she was the woman who was working as a graphic designer who, after going viral for dropping N's on a cooking video, decided she would parlay that into right-wing media. Yeah, that's it. No ideas, no plans, no platform, no, just an N. You know what I mean? Just an N. You really want to build on that. That's like the raw clay, and from that you can mold a right-wing media mogul. Now keep her in mind, because you guys have been sending me this lady for forever, and for good reason. Now, I will say I'm unsure if YouTube will let me play the music under these clips, but fortunately every single thing she does is for social media, and it's been subtitled. So here were the things that you guys sent me before.
In America, you can be anything you want. Don't do what you say. Jimmy Kimmel, thank you for your endorsements. Let's get rid of all the pedophiles in Hollywood and the rest of the nation. Together, we will make libraries great again. Happy to send you and Aaron Rodgers one of these. I heard there was another Chinese spy balloon flying by. I guess I'm gonna have to shoot it down. Good thing I'm always ready for everything. There's a lot of Hamas people coming for me on my social media. My address is public, so fuck around.
Imagine that, Hamas on social media. That is crazy. That's quite a bit of multitasking. But this one took the cake. Last week on Juneteenth, she dropped this.
Reparations from slavery and black victimization is about to be shoved down our throats for the most ratchet holiday in America. BLM raised millions, but what did they do for black lives? It is outrageous to see people asking for reparations even though they never went through slavery. These ungrateful people should be celebrated because they were born in the greatest nation to ever exist. Here's a tip. If you don't like America, finally, get the fuck out.
Now let's start at the top. Reparations from slavery and black victimization is about to be shoved down our throats for the most ratchet holiday in America. Yeah, I want to go ahead and thank Candace Owens for that. Yeah, Candace. Matter of fact, she tweeted at Candace Owens. I agree with Candace Owens. This holiday is ghetto. See, Candace, you see what happens when you decide to play pick me with your own people at your expense? You see what happens? You thought that was gonna make them like you, right? You thought that was gonna bring them over to your side. No, you just enable them to be able to echo your sentiments. That is exactly what you do. So shout out to you for enabling this behavior. Then she goes on.
BLM raised millions, but what did they do for black lives?
What does Black Lives Matter have to do with this? Huh? What does Black Lives Matter raising money have to do with Juneteenth? Like what does that have to do? Like is this like anti-black Mad Libs? Is that what this is? So let me see. I want to say she gonna bring up Chicago. She definitely gonna bring up Chicago. We got to bring up black on black crime. I mean, you have to bring up black on black crime. Gangster rap. Yeah, we're going to talk about gangster rap. We're going to talk about the culture. We're going to talk about Will Smith slapping Chris Rock. You know, we definitely going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Obama was not legitimate. We're going to get a little birtherism in there. The cops probably should have got Jada Pinkett and set it off. They definitely should not have let her go. Yeah, that's what I'm holding on my bingo board for Valentina Gomez anti-black bingo. That's what I'm sending in.
It is outrageous to see people asking for reparations even though they never went through slavery.
She goes on, it is outrageous to see people asking for reparations even though they never went through slavery. Oh, this must go back to that whole black victimization thing you were talking about. Hey! All y'all black on black crime culprits. Yeah, we got one. She don't believe in victimization. Yeah, she don't believe in victimization. Yeah, even if she's the victim, she don't want to be a victim. She don't believe in victimization. So we got one. Yeah. You good. You good on that. And she clearly doesn't believe in generational wealth either. So whatever was passed on to her or she plans to pass on to other people, that's, you know what I mean? Because generational wealth ain't a thing.
These ungrateful people should be celebrated because they were born in the greatest nation to ever exist. Here's a tip. If you don't like America, kindly get the fuck out.
Really? Really? From an immigrant. From an immigrant, you don't like America, get the F out. You just got in the club trying to kick people out the club. You don't even work here. Like, you just showed up to Walmart in a blue shirt trying to ring people up and trying to check people's receipts. Like, we don't know you. Now, this isn't the first time we've seen something like this. We should be well acquainted at this point for Sambos and Ruckuses to come in all different shapes, sizes, and colors. We've seen Vivek, we've seen Nikki Haley, we've seen Marco Rubio, we've seen Ted Cruz. But the difference between Vivek, Nikki Haley, Marco Rubio, and Ted Cruz, at least they wrap their racism in some sense of accomplishment. Like, at least they had careers that they wrapped their anti-black racism in. It wasn't just built on the bedrock of being racist. Apparently, that is something that you can do in 2024, which is why I brought up Lily Gaddis, who was trying to build a media career, literally said, thank you, black community, for playing your part and launching my career on the back of dropping an N. And here you have somebody trying to launch a political career, somebody who wants to be Secretary of State of a state full of a lot of black people, and she wants to build that purely on the back of racism. And if you thought that she had overstepped her bounds with this particular video, oh no, she doubled down in a statement saying, if you are not a slave, then you do not deserve any reparations. She goes on, straight white men built the roads we drive on, the buildings where we live, and the ones that fought and declared independence from the tyranny of the British for us to have freedom and the pursuit of happiness. To anyone that does not like America, GTFO. She also said President Trump is the greatest president of all time, and I look forward to accepting his endorsements. What I find so funny about that, because I don't want to waste too much of my time debunking all of this nonsense, because we see it exactly for what it is, but I have a specific point to make. What I find so specific is she had to declare that they were straight white men. She had to declare if they were straight white men. She is, of course, going to ignore the role that African Americans played in building this country and ignore the role that any other races played in building this country. She's ignoring the Asian contribution. She's ignoring the Latino contribution. But they had to be straight. She had to make sure they were straight white men. What evidence for that? The evidence for that is the fact that I'm anti-gay whenever possible. That is the evidence for that. Just to make sure that I'm checking all my boxes. Let me make sure they were straight. These were straight white men who drank beer, and they had guns on them while they were building these roads. If anything is consistent in its ability to draw white people over to your side, it is anti-blackness. She came in with absolutely no resume and no accomplishments whatsoever. She wants to be Secretary of State of Missouri. How am I going to accomplish that? How am I going to win people over to my side?
Reparations from slavery and black victimization is about to be shoved down our throats for the most wretched holiday in America.
Attack black people. That is it. That I'm going to attack. It is the gift that keeps on giving. Anti-blackness is like the Mario star in America. That is something that will take you far with absolutely nothing else needed to associate yourself with. And just to see how flimsy and transparent this whole thing is, just check out her take on the WNBA, because she had to get involved in it. You know, she likes to stay viral, right? This is her take on the WNBA, and you'll never guess who she loves.
Brittany Griner should be rotting in a Russian prison, not going to the Olympics. Caitlin Clark is the only reason why we even watched women's basketball. She deserves to go to the Olympics, unlike this unpatriotic lesbian. Caitlin Clark, America and I have your back.
Lesbian? Ooh. Who's gonna tell her? Huh? Who's gonna be the one to tell her? Don't worry, don't even worry about it, because I'd be surprised if she even knew what sport the WNBA played. It was just a nice vehicle to let white people know you can be just as racist and even more obvious in your racism. Now, I decided I wanted to do this because it's notable for one very significant reason. In the same way that I did the race of the week and talked about right-wing media, and the only thing you need for right-wing media is to be racist, here we have somebody who was operating in the shadows of Donald Trump, somebody who laid the groundwork of the things that you need in order to rise up the ranks in MAGA world. And now you have clones that have done less and less and less and less. And finally, you have somebody who's done nothing, absolutely nothing, but is building an entire Secretary of State platform on antagonizing black people. This is the degradation you get. It's almost like when, you remember we used to have tapes like the Maxell tapes and the TDK tapes, and you remember the more that you recorded, the more that you kept recording over it, it just got degraded and the quality just got worse and worse, and eventually it was just a garbled mess. This is the garbled mess of a million-time recorded over tape of Donald Trump. And while we're on the topic of Donald Trump, while he's out here trying to appeal to black people.
And I said it to a large African-American group of people 4 years ago. What the hell do you have to lose? You're the worst in income. You're the worst on crime. Your cities and your areas are being decimated. You can't get a home. You can't get mortgage. You can't get, they're last on it. I said, and the Democrats have for 100 years run these cities, 100 years. I said to them, what the hell do you have to lose?
I have a whole piece about that. The link will be in the description. So while the GOP and Fox News and everybody is out here trying to appeal to black people, where's their denouncement of this? Huh? Where is their denouncement of this? Right? If this is not who you are, right? If this is not all that's needed, who is checking her qualifications? Who is calling her out for her consistent thirst? Who is it? Who is it? Because y'all don't do it for Marjorie Taylor Greene, you're not doing it for a way worse Marjorie Taylor Greene. Nobody. Well, if you're not going to call her out, this is exactly who you are, and you can come get this nomination with her. Donald Ray Lance and Jean K. Whitefeather are facing multiple charges after being accused of enslaving their adopted black children, who were found living in a locked barn. The couple, residing near Charleston, pleaded not guilty to the charges after the children were discovered in a dilapidated shed, allegedly following forced labor on the surrounding farmland. The judge overseeing the case stated that Lance and Whitefeather targeted their 5 children, aged 16, 14, 11, 9, and 6, specifically because of their race, essentially using them as slaves. According to the original arrest report from October, the 2 oldest children were confined to a squalid 20 by 14 shed without lights, food, or running water, and were monitored by a camera positioned in the top left corner of the room. During a wellness check, the children were found wearing dirty clothes with sores on their feet, and the shed had no means of being opened from the inside. Now I'm gonna have to stop us right here, because this is a case where this couple has repeatedly adopted black children, and I understand that cross-racial adoption is a thing and can lead to some great results in some cases. But in this case, I have to ask, what was the explanation for this white couple in West Virginia repeatedly adopting black children? I'm not saying it's not possible for them to have good intentions. But for them to have good intentions, they would either have to have a deep, abiding appreciation and love for black culture, or they would have to have a deep space of empathy for the black condition in America or Pan-Africa and want to do their part to make it better. I find it hard, no, impossible to believe that this couple that treated these children this way convinced you that either of those things was true. There's no way they convinced you that either they were really down with the cause or really down with the culture. And without either of those two things, how were they allowed to repeatedly take black children into their homes, specifically black children? Now, the shed was situated on the couple's 5-acre property in Sissonville, West Virginia, valued at $295,000. They also own an 80-acre property in Tonasket, Washington, which they sold for $725,000 following their arrest in October. Whitefeather described the shed as a, quote, teenage clubhouse and denied that the children were held against their will, asserting that the children who were homeschooled actually liked the shed. However, the teenage girl told deputies they had been locked inside for approximately 12 hours and were last given food at 6 a.m. And at this point, I'm also going to need a public questioning, not only of them, but of loved ones. You want to tell me that a shed that had been locked from the inside, that they claim they were in for 12 hours and were last given food at 6 a.m. was a teenage clubhouse? I'm going to need I want these people to answer for these things publicly. Also, I want their loved ones and anybody around them to have to answer for these questions publicly, because I already asked how they were allowed to take black children into their home repeatedly. If you are their brother, sister, uncle, cousin, mama, whatever the case may be, and you see them repeatedly taking black children home, and even if they're able to hide their racism, the fact that they clearly don't seem down with the cause of the culture, but yet seem to be hoarding black children wasn't problematic to you. I need answers. Inside the shed, the children were forced to sleep on a hard concrete floor with only a small RV porta potty available and no running water. Doesn't sound like any teenage clubhouse I've ever been to or heard of. The criminal complaint emphasized the danger, stating that if there had been a medical emergency or fire, the children would have been unable to escape to safety. Court documents also revealed neighbors reported the children were made to perform farm labor and were not permitted inside the main house. Now, this is where I somewhat absolve the neighbors, because apparently they had called and complained of potential issues and things being problematic inside that household. Why absolutely nothing was done. Why absolutely nothing was done. What needed to happen? What needed to happen in order for the neighbors' complaints to be taken seriously? This is just another in a litany of evidence that we have on how black suffering is treated in this country. But yes, by all means, I'm sure help is on the way with Project 2025 turning their attention to DEI. Now, 3 hours after the initial discovery, deputies found a 9-year-old girl in a loft inside the family's locked main house. Lance returned home with the 11-year-old boy, while Whitefeather surrendered their 6-year-old daughter to authorities who've been staying with friends from the couple's church. Yeah, the couple's church. Good to know that they were getting their church appearances in. The children were found with various health issues, and photos taken by Whitefeather's brother a week after the arrest documented their poor condition. I need to know the circumstances that Whitefeather's brother took these photos. Were these photos taken to document the condition, or were these photos taken just for no reason and then seized? I also have questions about the church people who apparently were keeping these children and had absolutely nothing to say about their condition. Yeah, sounds real close to Christ. Their bond was increased to $500,000 each, up from the initial $200,000 due to the severity of the charges. The latest indictment alleges that the couple committed human rights violations by forcing their children into hard labor because of their race. Kanawha County Circuit Judge Mary Claire Akers, who presided over the case, noted that this was the first case of its kind she had encountered in her career and deemed the original bond insufficient given the severity of the crimes. She stated, along with human trafficking and neglect with serious risk of bodily injuries or death, I don't find the bond to be sufficient, and credit to that judge for taking that in her own hands. Prosecutors previously raised concerns that the couple's joint $400,000 bond posted in February might have been funded by their alleged activities. Kanawha County Assistant Prosecuting Attorney Christopher Krivoniak reported that the couple, who had previously claimed to have no assets or income, sold their 80-acre ranch in Tonasket, Washington for $725,000 in February, and 3 days later, Whitefeather's brother, you know, the one who took the photos, posted two $200,000 bonds to secure their release. Subsequently, on March 28th, they sold their home in Sissonville for $295,000. Despite whether the money was obtained legally, prosecutors argued it was initially intended for. So one thing I take from this is that these people have money. As much as we point the finger and talk about how racism thrives in this kind of low income, low information environment, these are people that actually had money and access to assets. They had goods. I also need to bring the brother in. I need to bring the brother in because either you're telling me that you had no knowledge or understanding of what was going on, but now, which I find hard to believe, as I mentioned, these people repeatedly taking in black children. You're either telling me you had no knowledge of what was going on, you received all this new information of the charges, and you still want to proclaim their innocence, or you're complicit. That's it. That's it. That's it. I need to hear from you, sir, because some things are not, oh yeah, let me go bail my kin out of jail. I'm not having my money on bailing you out of jail for this. I need to hear from him. The couple had no prior criminal complaints, by the way, in West Virginia, but complaints were made against them in May and September of last year, but deputies didn't find any wrongdoing during their visits. Let me guess how they went. Yeah, officer, I don't know what they called about, but you know, we good folks, we good law-abiding folks, and so you know you can trust me. Wink, wink, nod, nod. They observed the children inside the home, including seeing them eating dinner on one occasion. Guess that's all it takes. CPS was also contacted by neighbor Stacy Miller, who described seeing the children engage in what appeared to be forced labor in the yard, standing in a line with their heads down. The couple's initial bond money is now held by the court, with Krivoniak suggesting it could be transferred to the children in the form of a trust fund. And I want to forget that being a suggestion. That should be a given. These kids should get their reparations now. Whitefeather's attorney Mark Plants argued there were two sides to the story, asserting that there was a key inside the shed and that the allegations sounded worse than the reality. However, given the evidence and severity of the charges, the couple faces a challenging legal battle. Their next court appearance is scheduled for September 9th. And I find that curious, that story about the key inside the shed. Yeah, the key inside the shed that nobody knew about until charges were filed. And now we can give it as a possible defense. I want to know what the other side is, because the best case scenario is child abuse. That's the best case scenario, is child abuse. If you are able to somehow convince me that this was not racially motivated, which sounds crazy when you're repeatedly adopting black children to kick it in Sissonville, West Virginia, okay, as a white couple, if you're somehow able to convince me this wasn't racially motivated, then you have a devastating child abuse case. That's your best case. All of that happened in just the month of June. Lord help us. But somebody has to take home this trophy, so check out my post on the community page and vote for your favorite or least favorite. Whoever it was that had you closest to turn the video off, vote for that person for Racist of the Month. At some point, I'm gonna have to do a poll for what the prize is. Like, what is the prize for Racist of the Month? I mean, the only thing I can think of is these hands.
They're in a box. They are in a box where they've got to choose between a mentally incompetent president and a DEI vice president.
You can see that he wishes he had half the competency of Vice President Kamala Harris. Don't talk to me about what a DEI hire looks like, because we know that you have never, ever engaged in diversity, equity, or inclusion when it came to your office.
How can the party that gave us Herschel Walker try and claim that Kamala Harris is DEI? Hi, my name is Reese Waters, and I'm troubled. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the page. And never mind that, that's just a little leftover celebration from the channel hitting 100,000 subscribers. And thank you to you for being a part of the journey. Huh? What's that? I told you. I told y'all about the New York Post. I literally told y'all about the New York Post.
It's one thing if the RNC does it and are sleaze bags about, lying about what's actually happening with their cheap fakes. It's quite another when the New York Post does it.
I gotta disagree. You put some respect on the New York Post's name. They have a proven track record of being just as big as sleaze bags. By the way, a link to that piece is in the description. Although, to be fair, most of y'all didn't need telling about the New York Post. Apparently, the man outside the barbershops should start charging. But why settle on print with the New York Post when you can just say what you mean?
But I mean, do these donors really think that Kamala Harris is going to do better in Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania than Joe Biden would? I mean, that's the because it can't be anybody else, right?
Hey, Rob, you're being logical. Stop it. All right. She's a DEI hire, right? She's a woman. She's colored. Therefore, she's got to be good.
There's a lot at stake. Plus, the progressive movement, they are this close to locking this thing in. They have opened the borders. They've changed the entire culture of this country. If you look at the cities, it's almost over. If they can drag him across the finish line and install Kamala, we have a DEI presidency that they can celebrate for the rest of the administration.
Now, that Rupert Murdoch is nothing if not consistent. Now, I joked a while back about people using DEI when they really mean black. Y'all remember when they were calling Baltimore Mayor Brandon Scott the DEI mayor? Baltimore's DEI mayor commenting on the collapsed Francis Scott Key Bridge. It's going to get so much worse. Prepare accordingly. I mean, when we hear about a train derailment or subway mishap, it's never, what's with all these white people? This is what happens when there's no DEI. But when there's a brown face in the general vicinity, no matter how far away it is, it's an indictment of all of us. See, they pointed to Israel and then to plagiarism. With Boeing, they pointed to HBCU programs, all misdirection. But this was so lazy, they just left the pure, unadulterated racism just out in the open for all to see.
I know, and we all know, and you know very well, that black men and young black men in particular have been the boogeyman for those who are racist and think that only straight, wealthy white men should have a say in anything. We've been the boogeyman from them since the first day they brought us to this country. And what they mean by DEI, in my opinion, is duly elected incumbent. We know what they want to say, but they don't have the courage to say the N-word. And the fact that I don't believe in their untruthful and wrong ideology, and I am very proud of my heritage and who I am and where I come from, scares them. Because me being at my position means that their way of thinking, their way of life of being comfortable and suffering, and while everyone else suffers, is going to be at risk. And they should be afraid, because that's my purpose in life.
Now, I don't know exactly how that works to have a DEI mayor. Was he elected with DEI ballots? Were these ballots only presented to black people, or were they made of kente cloth? Did they have the Pan-African colors? Were the DEI ballots delivered late? I'm trying to figure out how he managed to even get elected when all the ballots came in on CP time. Explain to me how an elected official is a DEI mayor. Now, I joked a while back about people using DEI when they really mean black, but they are literally saying DEI when they really mean black.
Here's Chip Roy of Texas, the guy who was in favor of bringing back lynching and who admitted that he only nominated Byron Donalds to be speaker because he was black and the Democrats had nominated Hakeem Jeffries. Just want to set for my audience up to remind y'all who he is. Here he is talking about the vice president of the United States.
At the end of the day, I don't think they'll go there. I don't think they can. They're in a box. They are in a box where they've got to choose between a mentally incompetent president and a DEI vice president, and they know that they're going to be facing a problem either way.
So help me out, Republicans. I mean, if I work hard at my job, at my vocation, and I get promoted, then I would be DEI. And then if I'm somebody who's in a pool of people that can be selected for something, if I'm selected, that would be DEI. If I am elected by the people themselves, that would be DEI. Of course, if I start my own business and I build it up from scratch myself, then my success would be DEI. I'm curious, how exactly can I, as a black man, not be DEI? I don't understand. Like, do I have to walk around in a hockey mask? I'm trying to figure out how I can escape being DEI as a black, huh? Oh, they got an announcement? Oh, I get it now. I get it now. So I suddenly become qualified when I support the destruction of my own kind. I no, because that makes sense, because I'm sitting here wondering, I'm like, why is it that all of a sudden Kanye and Lawrence Taylor.
And I've always been a Democrat until I met this man right here.
And Royce White and Chef G are not DEI, but Kamala Harris and Hakeem Jeffries are DEI. I mean, like, how can the party that gave us Herschel Walker try and claim that Kamala Harris is DEI?
See, that is a person wielding that weapon. You know, Cain killed Abel. You know, and that's the problem that we have. And I said, what we need to do is look into how we can stop those things. You know, he talked about doing a disinformation. What about getting a department that can look at young men that's looking at women, that's looking at just social media? What about doing that, looking into things like that, and we can stop that way? But yet they want to just continue to talk about taking away your constitutional rights. And I think there's more things we need to look into. This has been happening for years, and the way we stop it, by putting money into the mental health field, by putting money into other departments rather than departments that want to take away your rights.
I mean, look at your presidential nominee. I mean, you want to talk about DEI. I mean, list me Trump's qualifications to be president. And by the way, I have a couple of caveats. You can't mention any businesses that went bankrupt. You can't not mention any marriages with infidelity or any relationships that didn't end in prison or home confinement. Go ahead, I'll wait. The party that boasts Marjorie Taylor Greene as a top 5 fundraiser, when she posted this. Is calling somebody else out for DEI. You know what? Y'all actually need some DEI, if we're being honest. Like, nobody needs DEI like MAGA, if I'm gonna be honest with you. And not the kind of DEI y'all been getting, because y'all definitely need better black representation. In fact, I see why y'all mad. Now, all of a sudden now, I see why they are mad at DEI, because the DEI, they've been sending them Herschels and LTs. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I can understand why you would be mad if all of a sudden you went to Diversify and they brought back Candace Owens. Like, I get it. I get it. 2 stars on Yelp. 2 stars on Yelp for the DEI program at best. Now, by the way, our very own Jasmine Crockett, she actually exposed this whole sham of DEI, this whole phenomenon of all black people being DEI. She exposed this weeks ago.
I just want to go over a few things that are concerning and alarming to me. I don't know if you're familiar, but have you ever heard of Project 2025?
I've read about that, Congresswoman.
Okay. And there are some things indicated in Project 2025 that are quite concerning to me. And I want to talk about a few of those topics because this hearing almost feels like a Project 2025 hearing. One of those topics is diversity in the workplace. The agenda includes making sure that the next conservative administration dismantles DEI apparatus by eliminating various chief diversity officer positions, et cetera. And you engaged in an exchange earlier with one of my colleagues, and I don't know if you recall, but it was hitting me a little differently as a Black woman sitting here, because it almost seemed as if you either get diversity or you get qualifications. It did not seem as if my colleague understood that someone can be diverse and qualified. And it is why you have people like me that get very frustrated, not just in the halls of Congress, but in general in this country. Because as I'm sitting here, and there seemed to be this question of you're either diverse or you're qualified, all I could think about was the fact that I currently hold an honorary doctorate. I also hold a Juris Doctorate. I also hold a bachelor's. I also technically hold the rank of Lieutenant Colonel in the Civil Air Patrol, and I actually practiced law for almost 2 decades, in addition to serving on various boards, in addition to being a prior state lawmaker. And there are those that would make some people believe that because I happen to be Black and or a woman, that somehow, even though I can rattle off all the qualifications in the world, my Blackness makes me unqualified. My question to you is that the attitude that you subscribe to?
And she spoke to what's happening right now as well.
At the end of the day, I don't think they'll go there. I don't think they can. They're in a box. They are in a box where they've got to choose between a mentally incompetent president and a DEI vice president, and they know that they're going to be facing a problem either way.
Now, I know that you are wont to read a loser when a loser says a thing, so I'm just going to let you comment on what you think about those words.
Again, you know what? I want people to listen to them. If you just listen to what they say, it will tell you everything that you need to know. Number one, you can obviously see that he's ignorant as all get out. And number two, you can see that he wishes he had half the competency of Vice President Kamala Harris. Don't talk to me about what a DEI hire looks like, because we know that you have never, ever engaged in diversity, equity, or inclusion when it came to your office. So we know that you don't know anything about hiring diversity.
Now that is a very interesting point. Let's take a look at what exactly your office looks like, Chip Roy. Let's take a look at what your staffs look like to see what exactly you know about diversity hiring, because as I just asserted earlier, it sounds like y'all actually probably need some. Now, see, we could have helped y'all with that. You know, we could have helped y'all with that, but no, y'all wanted to keep it all the way white. You just wanted to let in Byron Donalds and Tim Scott and Wesley Hunt in his jigger boots.
But let me tell you one of the real facts about diversity in this country. We're missing out on trillions of dollars in GDP, and they can go and check the receipts if they want to, because we have the rogue governors coming out of the state of Texas that are anti-DEI. We've got the rogue governor in Florida and so forth.
Now, this is actually an excellent point that really at some point warrants its own dedicated video. She's talking about the amount of money that you are missing out on by virtue of your ignorance. For instance, the wealth gap between American whites and blacks is projected to cost the U.S. economy between $1 and $1.5 trillion in lost consumption and investment just between 2019 and 2028. That is the projection. This translated to a projected GDP penalty of 4 to 6% by the time we get to 2028. And you know what? Why don't we look back? According to an April 2021 report from the San Francisco Federal Reserve Bank, 2019 output would have been $2.6 trillion higher if race and gender gaps in labor market opportunities and returns were eliminated. Further, they estimated that race and gender gaps cost the U.S. economy a collective $70.8 trillion in today's money between 1990 and 2019. $70.8 trillion that you are costing us just to be racist. That is commitment. That is commitment right there. And for a party that's always talking about finances and the economy, let's talk about the economy and how your ignorance is driving a stake in it.
And so what they need to do is get over their incompetence and just try to get on our level and decide that they're going to compete and start to come up with actual policies instead of going after people because of how they look or how they were born. Instead, they need to focus on taking care of the American people, which means that you're going to take care of people other than just white folk. It means that you take care of brown, Hispanic, Asian, and everyone.
It makes me wonder about the mental gymnastics that the black people in your jurisdiction have to do, knowing that you think that they are DEI just by virtue of them being black. Any accomplishment makes them DEI, which, by the way, also means that there's just a written-in excuse for any mistake that white people make, because they earned it. You know what I mean? They earned it. I mean, Chip Roy, there has to be black people in your jurisdiction in Texas. How does it land with them to hear you talk about them as being DEI? The black people that watch Fox News.
And install Kamala. We have a DEI presidency that they can celebrate for the rest of the administration.
I need to know, when you turn off Fox News at night and you put your shirt back on to go to bed, how is it that you feel about yourself? What is it that you are telling yourself? What's running through your head?
I took all my feelings, my wants and needs and dreams, and I buried them inside you. I planted a seed and watched and prayed over. I planted myself inside you and waited to bloom. It didn't take me no 18 years to realize the soil was hard and rocky and it was never gonna bloom.
You know, that sounds about right. Yeah, that sounds about right.